The NFL is a business and players have the ultimate "what have you done for me lately" jobs. One minute they're the hero and the next they are being run out of town because they are, well, old news. And with pressure from fans, upper management, media, and of course the inner pressure they put on themselves, there are always expectations from everyone and sometimes large expectations at that. And in today's video, we are going to discuss a couple of teams that have to perform in 2022 because, well, they don't have time to wait around and rebuild or go through a losing season or two to get back on track. And in a lot of ways, it is now or never, and without further ado, let's begin. And we're going to start today's video with the Baltimore Ravens as they are in an extremely interesting situation heading into the 2022 NFL season. And heading into 2021, there was a lot of hope before, well, and I'm not exaggerating that much here when we say nearly half the team ended up on injured reserve, and that included former MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson and their top two running backs in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and those two were on IR before the season even started. There was also a team in their division that, while they were expected to make some strides, they were not expected to advance all the way to the Super Bowl and get within 2 minutes of Joe Burrow and the gang winning their first. And when these teams played at the Ravens' healthiest, which keep in mind still wasn't a full 100% as they had multiple starters out by their Week 7 game, Ja'Marr Chase took them to school and finished with an 8-catch, 201-yard performance with a big touchdown on top of it. And out of all of the organizations in football, I am particularly high on the Ravens as they are very well run from the top down and you don't see them get beat like this often. Period. And the Ravens knew entering this offseason, we have to stop the Bengals. Joe Burrow lit us up in 2021, not once, but twice, as he threw for over 500 yards when they went out to southwestern Ohio late in the year and were, in a lot of ways, for their team and franchise, embarrassed. And they have faith in corners Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters coming off of a torn ACL, but they addressed the safety position in a big way this offseason as they signed Marcus Williams from the Saints to a big deal and had a very good prospect in Kyle Hamilton fall into their laps at pick 14. But with the Ravens, there is more to stopping the Bengals. They traded away 1,000-yard receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals for a first-round pick and eventually drafted interior offensive lineman Tyler Linderbaum, but they have a quarterback in a contract year in Lamar Jackson. And Lamar, since that MVP year, has been, fair or not the same player. And to be fair to Lamar, I don't think his 2021 numbers are accurate from what you could realistically expect from him moving forward on a per-year basis, but from a financial standpoint and not a football standpoint for a second, Lamar wants to get paid and you can't blame him for wanting to be fairly compensated. He knows he is due for a big payday, and I would imagine the Ravens get a deal done before the season, as I don't think they'd want Lamar Jackson to go out and worry about not playing to get injured because of the fear he may not then receive a contract if he does get injured, which in turn would hinder his play. The Ravens understandably missed the playoffs last year because of many starters out by the time January rolled around. But in a new year where Pittsburgh has a rookie quarterback, who knows what's going on in Cleveland, and Cincinnati trying to run the North, it is very much now or never in the Charm City. And from the AFC, we go to the NFC to discuss another team with a mobile quarterback, and it is the Arizona Cardinals. They too, like Baltimore, have a quarterback who would like a contract extension, and Kyler at his peak has not been as productive as Lamar Jackson. And sure, Kyler has made some big splash plays here and there, but we know for the most part what type of player he is. And that's an above average starting quarterback who occasionally makes a flashy play that when you see it live for the first time, you know it will end up on the highlight reel. But in today's NFL, in order to compete with forget the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes of the world for a second because the Cardinals are in the NFC, but they have to be able to compete with the Matthew Staffords and Aaron Rodgers of the world when it matters most. A Week 4 win over the Rams where they put up 37 points is good for contract negotiations, as you showed you beat the eventual champions, but I hate to sound like this, but that doesn't mean squat at the end of the day when push comes to shove. And Arizona had the number 1 overall pick back in 2019 and had a rookie head coach in Cliff Kingsbury at the time, and back then you could certainly argue it was about getting moral wins. But those days are long over, as Kyler and Cliff are both entering year 4, and the Cardinals, I truly believe, have the most volatility entering the season, because we've heard the noise about Kyler being a bad teammate, and I myself have been vocal about my concerns with a Cliff Kingsbury coach team, and that goes back to his days at Texas Tech, as Cliff is a good coach in the first half of the season before teams and opposing defensive coordinators figure him out and what the concepts are week after week after week. And them putting up an average of just 20.6 points per game over the final 5 games of the 2021 season versus an average of 32.1 over their first 7 games en route to a 7-0 start pretty much show that. For the Arizona Cardinals, there are a ton of narratives they need to kill in 2022 due to the negative aura they have around them. And Kyler being a bad teammate and Cliff being a choke artist, well, those narratives can be killed with one thing. And guys, that's winning. And my biggest fear for the Arizona Cardinals in 2022 isn't that they can't win or that they're going to get swept by the Drew Lock-led Seahawks, although to be clear, you never know in the NFC West, so no discredit is intentional there. But my biggest fear is in Week 10 they lose to the Los Angeles Rams, then have back-to-back home games against the 49ers and Chargers before their Week 13 bye, and it starts a skid because teams have begun to figure out the Cardinals once again, and that definitely takes a toll on guys in the locker room. And their schedule coming off of that said Week 13 bye certainly isn't easy, as they play the New England Patriots, at the Denver Broncos, and home against the Bucs in consecutive weeks. The Cardinals have talent on their roster, but with a quarterback who wants a pretty penny, and a penny that would cost probably in the $200 million area, and a head coach who is notorious for choking, all combined with the defending champion in their division, well, simply put, the pressure is amplified now more than ever before. And next up is the Denver Broncos, who most notably traded for quarterback Russell Wilson this offseason. There is a reason we have them on here in today's video rather than any other AFC West team, and we'll get to that, but they have a future Hall of Fame quarterback and a first-year head coach in Nathaniel Hackett, who is chomping at the bit to prove he can be successful in this league. And when you trade multiple first-round picks and a couple of starters too with Shelby Harris and Noah Fant, well, it's pretty simple. There's no excuses, and there is no, oh well, we play in a tough division with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Derek Carr, who, by the way, stepped up big time in 2021. You make that trade to beat those guys, and what is rather unfortunate for Russell Wilson specifically is those other guys have all had years of chemistry of getting to know one another, and it is never easy for a veteran quarterback to go into a new situation and to lead a team to a Super Bowl right out of the gate. Sure, Tom Brady did it, but Russell Wilson isn't Tom, and it took Peyton and Drew Brees both some time to win a Super Bowl with their new team, and a Super Bowl with their new team is not guaranteed, by the way. And this is either not acknowledged by the national media, or it is sort of just accepted now that quarterbacks play longer than ever before, but age is something we should also pay attention to regarding Russell. He will be 34 years old this fall, and I'm not a doctor or a scientist or anything like that, nor do I claim to be, but generally guys' arms do not increase with velocity or arm strength as they go from age 34 into their upper 30s. It decreases with time, and the underlying worry I have for the Broncos is if they don't win it all this year or next year, will they ever win it all during the Russell Wilson era? Because unlike in 2015 when they won it with Peyton and the gang, the AFC now is truly loaded beyond measure, and as Russ gets up there in age, players like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert will be right around 30 years old, and by the way, nowhere close to retiring. And the Broncos gave up a haul for a quarterback that will be 34 years old this fall, and Russ is certainly not getting any younger. And that's a big reason why it is now or never for the Denver Broncos in 2022. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support over the dead part of the NFL offseason. And by the way, I saw a couple comments recently about the volume and that you guys always have the volume turned up, so I appreciate the support. I upped the volume in the program, and I hope you guys noticed. But anyways, until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.